Hello and welcome for the first time to a Crimson Desert patch note video. I know this is a bit unorthodox because I usually only do Black Desert, but I feel like it is a good place to start. So we have the patch notes for version 1.01. This is available on Steam, on PC and Mac, PlayStation, Xbox, Epic Games Store, and Mac Store will be available at a later time. There are some major updates, so obviously we see 5 summonable mounts, decreased loading times for fast travel and revival, and some more changes to controls. But we're going to go through the details, as most people are used to from my other patch note streams. So they've added 5 new mounts that can be obtained and summoned after completing certain conditions. So, spoiler warning, we're going to open this up. So there are 3 legendary mounts, the White Bear, Silver Fang, and Snow White Deer, which you can get as a reward. Boss mounts, you get the Rock Tusk Warthog and the Icicle Edge Alpine Ibex. The people of Pywell are not afraid of tamed animals, so feel free to travel through towns. And if you already caught any of the legendary animals before this patch, you will receive a corresponding reward. I logged in today and I immediately got the Fang for the Silver Fang. You then need to go to a witch, it seems, and then create it, but that's how it works. Then we have added the chest containing various materials through Pywell. They also added a refinement token item, which is given in general for certain main and faction quests. You will be able to temper up to or refine up to stage 4, so pretty much right before you need to start spending the abyssal artifacts. They also added a make now function, which allows food and items to be cooked and crafted immediately once the recipe is selected without having to select ingredients. They also added a store all selected items function to move all items from the inventory to your private function. On keyboard, this is apparently Shift R and B. On PlayStation 5, the square, and on Xbox, the X. Sounds a bit iffy, considering that you might not want to just put everything in, but only stack what's already in there. But hey, that might come later on. They also moved the private storage chest back into Cliff's tent. So once you upgraded your camp, it would move right behind Carl. Now it is back in Cliff's tent, which is great because it was a pain to reach. They also added a wholesale grocer shop NPC to regional farms in Pywell, and accordingly adjusted the quantity of certain knowledge entries. They also improved the shop item knowledge acquisition so that knowledge for items sold in shops can now be learned at once, with the learning time set to 3 seconds. They also improved locked doors so that an interaction button is displayed so you can choose to use a key or not to open a door. They also improved pets so that they do not stray excessively far away during combat. They also fixed an issue where pets in certain situations were unable to loot during combat. Further, they improved wells so that 5 units of water can be obtained at a time. The mining knuckle drill has been improved so that items obtained from drilling can be collected immediately. They also improved the same thing on the Demasian chainsaw items so that lumber from felled trees can be collected immediately. They changed the crafting materials for the Cuckoo Watcher pack. The improved abyss cells dropped from destroying disappearing rocks so that they can now be placed into the Cuckoo Pot. They also improved the knowledge helm so that all obtainable knowledge visible on the screen can be acquired at once. Slightly increased the treasure detection range from the Pirate King hat. If you're curious about that one, you need to go down to Velua and then defeat the Pirate King down there. Additional inventory expansion items obtained after reaching the maximum inventory of 240 this will now be granted as boxes containing crafting materials and other items. They also made the Abyss more convenient to play, reduced the chances of pickpockets running into houses while fleeing. They increased the maximum camera distance in photo mode and added a field of view adjustment and a camera shutter sound effect, so you know when the screenshot was taken. As part of the ongoing visual improvements, they also replaced the 2D visual assets to better align with the game's art direction, fixed an issue where resting or waiting at beds, campfires, and similar objects were unavailable. They also fixed some issues where Damian and Onka would become invisible under certain circumstances, fixed an issue where money deposited in the bank could disappear when interest was refreshed. This must have sucked for a few people. They changed sealable items so that when they become lost, sealable items become sealed items and they cannot be sealed and are registered as lost. Improved the system so that leaving out sealable items and saving and reloading the game triggers either a sealed or lost item notification, changed criminal acts to not decrease contribution before an NPC witnesses the act. This is quite nice because now you won't lose contribution if you're trying to just steal a book. And they changed the functionality of an item. This is another spoiler warning. I'm gonna try to warning, warning, warning. We're gonna open this up. They changed the functionality of the Master Dues circlet item, and once equipped, pressing the item using prompt keys will immediately fire projectiles. Moving on to the controls and combat. So apparently they improved the movement controls again for players and horses. So movement speed increases by holding down the shift key or running key. Movement speed increases by tapping the running key once, and movement speed for the player character and horse will no longer decrease even if the running key is not held. But to maintain the full sprint, you still need to periodically input the sprint button. So that is a nice improvement. They also improved the usability of flight. They reduced the flight stamina consumption, fixed an issue where the character briefly stops for a moment before moving with flight. They also improved flight so that equipment can be used while flying, and they improved an issue where flight would not activate in certain situations. Further, they changed the mechanics of the aerial stab because there was an unintended issue, allowing it to be used repeatedly in mid-air, pretty much a sort of flying animation. So they've improved the animation, changed the aerial stab so that stamina required for the skill increases with each consecutive use. They fixed an issue where the aerial stab would not activate when Cliff had a different main weapon other than a one-handed sword. Stamina requirements for aerial maneuver and aerial swing have been reduced. They've improved the interaction range of make interacting with NPCs more convenient, improved the player character's turning responsiveness during short distance. Keyboard and mouse, they fixed an issue where blinding flash and spinning slash skills would be interrupted when continuously being inputted under certain conditions. Also, mouse and keyboard, they improved so items can be held by double-clicking them in shops. Added weak point indicator effects for each element. That is, yeah, okay, it's a little bit yellow lines. They adjusted certain bosses and enemies so they do not attack immediately after the character dies and revives. Fixed an issue where the meteor kick could be cast even in mid-air when there was no reachable ground. Added an aim key for tool type items. Changed weapons so that they can now be drawn using the unsheath weapon key, and improved the UI so that the key guide is displayed during combat. Fixed an issue where the stun gauge would sometimes reset instantly when a boss using a mount fell off it. Changed small, medium stoneback crabs to fall backwards when hit with the force palm. Keyboard and mouse, they improved the inventory usability, so changing selected and using items from mouse hover to mouse click, and left click to select items and right click or double click to use them. They reduced the stamina consumption while sprinting using crow wings, fixed an issue where the knockback range of focused repulsion was abnormally large, made adjustments so that the wheel of the Desert Marauder Rustin can no longer be destroyed from a certain distance, fixed an issue where roll and evade could not be performed while using focus skill, added precise control feature for axiom force on mouse and keyboard holding Q or the mouse back button while moving. The mouse now allows objects to be moved more precisely. Improved objects so that they are easier to interact with, and they improved the UI to display a guide message when attempting to draw a weapon in location or states where weapons cannot be drawn. Quest-wise, there's a few tiny fixes. So they improved the transition of the liberation sequence so it feels less abrupt. Then also they fixed an issue with a prologue quest, New Journey, where progression could be blocked if a player throws an object at Sebastian to attack him. In Chapter 2, Missing Companion, there was delivery targets sometimes disappearing. And Chapter 3, Dance with the Devil, where destroying totems would occasionally not reduce the totem count. Additional guide prompts where guidance was previously lacking have also been added. Then we have UI fixes. They added a feature that allows the minimap to be fixed at north, so you can have the minimap rotation be turned off, so you can keep track of your roads better. Added information in the skills menu showing the stat increase for the next level. Added icons on the minimap to indicate locations of keys and anvils. Improved notification menu to allow checking of quests and challenge progress, accepted, completed, updated. Reward information and time details. The maximum number of stored notifications has also been increased to 2,000. They added an icon to the journal menu to indicate new quests, improved the minimap so that the faction facilities are displayed when that particular faction's operation gauge is shown, improved the overall main screen notifications, including how long they are displayed and when they disappear, improved the cooking and crafting menu so that the recipes of the same type, filling, satisfying, and hearty, are displayed as a single group, improved the duo game so that the key guide for peeking is displayed during the gameplay, remove the whiteout effect during the retry loading screen after death, improve the knowledge menu so that both main categories and subcategories can be viewed at once, change the key guide UI for PlayStation controller L3, R3 buttons, and Xbox controllers LS and RS. They changed the inventory UI so that using pouch items use all in the option selected is selected by default, and improved the text color of UI descriptions to appear brighter. Continuing to graphics and settings, they improved the rendering stability and visual quality in low resolution environments, or when upscaling is enabled. I haven't noticed that yet in a cave. They also improved the rendering of translucent materials such as hair, fur, and clothing when FSRR and DLSSRR are enabled. On PlayStation 5, they added a fixed 4K output option to provide sharper gameplay experience. When this option, however, is enabled, the game will output at 4K regardless of whether the display natively supports 4K, allowing for a sharper image. On the PlayStation 5, in performance mode, enabling this option will allow you to upscale with FSR. This option is enabled by default and cannot be disabled, and when disabled, the game will output according to the maximum resolution supported by the monitor. Also fixed an issue where screen noise would increase during long gameplay sessions. Fixed an issue where displacement mapping was not applied correctly with the DLSSRR enabled. In addition, the DLSSRR preset has been changed from D to E, improving overall visual quality and fixing an issue where texture animations, such as waterfalls, could stop playing. Performance stability and gameplay. Loading times have been reduced when traveling via abyss traces and when respawning after death. Fixed several stability and performance optimization crashes across PC, console, and Mac. I've only had one crash after 89 hours. They also fixed an issue where frame drops occurred during the battle against the Crowcaller. Okay, I haven't fought him. Localization, they fixed an issue where the current quest objective could incorrectly display certain item descriptions. Also fixed the various localization errors and localization quality across all languages. They added sound effects when certain animals eat meat. And then we have just the other fixes, which is the general fixes. Fix an issue with certain interactions not functioning properly when enhancing some tools. Fix the twisted thickaway abyss where the skybridge gate could be opened without restoring the adjacent abyss. Improve cows not properly following during herding. Fix an issue where greeting others while having a low bounty could trigger a crime. They fixed an issue where using nature snare affected nearby NPCs. Fixed an issue where housing mode would close when pressing the drag button outdoors. Fixed an issue where falling onto shallow water could occasionally cause the character to dive to an abnormal location. Fixed an issue where the effect of the energy drain abyss gear would not activate. Fixed an unintended issue or unintended functionality was applied during the Constellation Helm. Fixed an issue where movement speed would briefly decrease before initiating gliding. Fixed an issue where items would be put away when changing equipment via quick slot while the equipment was already drawn. Fixed an issue where bow aiming was not possible in certain situations. Fixed an issue where the blinding flash finisher at the edge of a cliff would launch the character far away. Fixed an issue where UI elements would overlap when displayed at the same time. And they fixed an issue where attacking NPCs with trees was not considered a crime, and various other game issues. There are some known issues, so if you want to check those out, I will add them in the description as well as a separate thing, but you can check if you have any issues and report them. And with that, I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you have fun in Pi Well.